What black market did kids at your school run?
Silent scan.
I used to deal in whiteboard markers for teachers in high school. One teacher had a tendency to hoard them, leaving none for other teachers. I would take markers from him and provide them to other teachers in need. While there was no formal payment, I was given a little bit more leniency at times, e.g. requests to leave the classroom for a moment, etc. Once the marker would start squealing on the whiteboard, because it was almost empty, I'd get teachers giving me a nod as if to say, "You got the goods." I'd then supply them with the marker color of their choosing, usually black. It was actually a lot of fun, and I never heard teachers talk about my systems or chastise me for taking markers.
Silent scan.
I was in elementary school when pogs were big. Everyone had cool slammers and stuff, but I didn't have money for good ones. My dad made one out of 1/2 inch mild steel for me and used an engraving pen to make a simple pattern. Everyone was asking me where I got them from. I didn't wanna lose my unfair edge, but I also knew I could make money. My dad had a big sheet of this 1/2 inch steel. I told them I was the only one who could get them. I sold them for $15 a pop. My dad kept 10, I got 5. And that's when I learned what overhead was.
Silent scan.
I went to a private high school with a strict dress code, ties, belt, etc. So I bought a bunch of ties and belts from a thrift store and ran a lucrative rental business out of my locker.
Silent scan.
My school used the metallic ends of pencils as a currency. Bronze was rarest, so it was the most expensive. Green was most common, so it was the least. We traded for erasers or pencil cases or a spot up in the Foursquare line. Eventually got banned, but we still operated with people acting as banks to keep the currency hidden and to keep transactions hidden.
Silent scan.
At my school they took all sweets out of the vending machines and replaced them with healthy snacks. In the local town there was a sweet shop where you could buy a kilo of mixed sweets for £5. So every week I would go there and buy 1 pound of small paper bags and spend the Sunday night before school repackaging them all ready for the week ahead. Come Monday I would go into school and load my bag up every day selling the bags for 50p.
Silent scan.
The only guy in the school whose family had proper TV channels used to tape wrestling events and rent them out. That late 90s ECW was hard to get a hold of. My buddies and I would pool money to watch the PPV events at my house and always recorded them on VHS. Unfortunately my mother saw an especially bloody ECW match, so we could only order WWE events. Luckily I was always nice to the 2ICAP kids, and they had all of the ECW shit. They would always loan me tapes to copy over the weekend, and on Monday we would be so excited to talk about them.
Silent scan.
Apple laptops in middle school, some had iTunes, some didn't, and the kids wanted it, so I apparently was the only one who knew how to transfer the installer with my USB. I put it on everyone's laptop for gifts, favors, etc. in return. Got caught by the sub that day. I told her it was my flash drive, I could do what I wanted with it. And that's how I got my second detention of my life. Edit. Gifts were typical middle schooler shit. UGIO cards, fruit snacks, best food trades during lunch, gain in popularity and hang out with the cool people. Obviously they were taking advantage of me, but I didn't mind.
Silent scan.
MP3s and CDRs were just becoming available. A guy I knew made a killing on mixed CDs. Every week he circulated forms to fill out where you selected the songs you wanted on the CD. The newest hits were on the top and changed weekly. The rest of his library filled the rest of the form, and there was a space for requests. He'd deliver your disc the following week. He seriously made bank for a couple years until everybody started getting their own songs from LimeWire or whatever. I don't know what he's doing now, 20 years later, but I don't doubt he's successful. Edit. Just as a bit of an aside, since a few responses have mentioned LimeWire, when this guy started doing it in HS the only real avenues for music sharing were Usenet groups and Ike.
Silent scan.
Apart from the 20 minutes before the morning bell rang where everyone crowded around the front of the school being an open-air drug market, there were always dice tournaments. The rules were 2 people put down X amount of money on a game, then both people rolled 2 dice at the same time. Whoever got 7 or 11 first won the money. The winners of the first rounds would play each other for the amount of money they won in previous games. This went on until the bell rang, or it was broken up by teachers/school administrators. Things often continued in the afternoon after school let out. So many people got detention and suspended for repeat gambling. Looking back, it was hilariously stupid how much money was won and lost on a game of pure luck, and the sheer number of people who got in trouble for it. Yes, I was one of them.
Silent scan.
This girl Danielle convinced my best friend and I, along with some other people, that she could forever change the taste of saliva in our mouth. So that our saliva would taste like watermelon, cotton candy, bubble gum, etc. forever. She made us wait a couple days, so we could really think about what flavor we wanted in our mouth forever. For example, she would tell us, "Are you sure you always want everything you eat to have a hint of watermelon?" Anyways, after a couple days and we picked a flavor, she charged us money. I can't remember how much, but it was probably $0.50 or something. She made us chew on all this crazy stuff like paper clips, erasers, and other things. Obviously our saliva never changed flavor and she stopped this. But I worked at Starbucks a couple years ago in my hometown and she came in and didn't even recognize me, and all I could think about was how that girl had me chewing on paper clips. Was she head of her own religion by then?
Silent scan.
My school was an extremely conservative Christian boarding school. Things that were forbidden were, by no means a complete list: jeans, for girls, shorts, for everyone, candy, any sort of food in the dorms, cell phones, any form of gaming system/TV/movies, playing non-Christian songs on musical instruments, clothes made by popular brands, A&F and Hollister etc. Naturally, there were a few students who started selling food, candy, and A&F/Hollister clothes. Why people bought these from them I don't know, but they made huge amounts of money. A lot of the kids at that school were rich doctors' kids, so there was plenty of money to go around. One guy sold a box of Altoids for $15. TL. Doctor, my high school was so strict that the black market was people paying ridiculous amounts of money for food and snacks.
Silent scan.
I ran it. For a few spare years in elementary, books got banned in the classroom. Not blacklisted books, but literally books in general. They were far too distracting, even though most kids read when done with work, etc. I started smuggling books to school and peddling them out to kids. It started out innocently. I had loads of Hank the Cowdog books that I was super into, and I hid them in my desk, and I loaned them to close friends when asked. But soon, the entire class knew. And that spread to the school. I became a full-time book smuggler. I had a system where there was a 2-week borrowing limit, kept a log of who/what book/when, ran a teensy little library for myself, basically, and I made sure these kids were treating the books fairly. If anything came back damaged, they were banned from borrowing. Kept this up until middle school, which was considerably less totalitarian.
Silent scan.
I ran a black market sour gum pull operation in grade 5. We'd buy them in bulk, sell them for 5 cents each, and make about $12 in profit a bag. Did it just off of the school property line at the edge of the field, so it was legit. One of our staff was a keener with a principal for a father, and a teacher for a mother. He cracked under questioning from staff, and asked us out. Even though we weren't doing anything against school rules, and weren't on school property, I feigned illness the next day, let the whole thing blow over, and nothing came of it. I had hustling in my blood from a young age.
Silent scan.
Gas masks. I live in Kharkiv, Ukraine, near a forest, and there is an abandoned military base in this forest. When I studied at school, there was nothing except old calendars on the walls and gas masks. Almost new, in good condition, with bags, even with some filters. So, once the brave kids went there and brought some, everyone started asking them for more. So, they started going there regularly to sell these gas masks later at school. It went on until military came back to this base. It was like 10 years ago, and I still have my mask. Edit. The base has been abandoned since early mid 1990s, if anyone's curious.
Silent scan.